Wells Fargo is at it again. This time is a record-breaking fine that has been imposed on Wells Fargo because of abuse of their customers. Let's get right into what exactly happened. All right, so they have been ordered to pay $3.7 billion for illegal activity, including unjust foreclosures and vehicle repossessions. That is a very potent headline. It's something that we all need to consider when looking at this. This is a quote-unquote respectable bank, one of the big ones in the United States. And one, this is probably not even on anybody's radar because it won't even pop up on regular headlines for the most part. And if it does, you kind of glance over it because it is par for the course, right? Another bank with another fine. Who cares? It's what happens. We're so immune to it. One is 3.7 billion. That's a significant amount. But two is they labeled it illegal activity. These are the entities that we look for when we think, there needs to be trust in the space, or we trust them with our finances. We trust them when we partner with them that, look, they're an institution, they're a bank, everything they do is above board. That is the impression that we're trained with, that we're brought up with, and that we continue to keep going forward. No matter how much you complain about, maybe your monthly fees or whatever, some other fees, at the end of the day, there is that level of security that, hey, somebody's holding my finances or managing my finances when I do a transaction or whatever the case is, and they're doing it properly. When I'm not present, things are running perfectly because they're a bank and they're regulated, right? Well, that's not the case. That's not the case. I've gone ad nauseum over how many bank fines have been laid out to all these different banks, especially within the top five, and top five in terms of fines outlined for specific banks. But let's get into this one. 3.7 billion because of illegal activity where they abused customers, right? So they've got a record 1.7 billion on Tuesday for widespread mismanagement over multiple years that harmed over 16 million customer accounts. So this isn't something that was a one-off. This isn't something that affected a very small select group of clients or customers. This is over the years and 16 million accounts. That's a lot. That's staggering, actually, how much has been affected by just what's been going on over the last years. And the fact that it's gone on for years, but now we're getting some resolution in terms of a fine. And we'll go on with this article, but it's not even resolution in terms of the operations or the process that led to that illegal activity. It's resolution, and here's a fine, carry on with your day. All right, but so the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which they go on to abbreviate to CFPB, noted there was illegal activity, including repeatedly misapplying loan payments, wrongfully foreclosure on homes, illegally repossessing vehicles, and incorrectly assessing fees and interest and charging surprise overdraft fees. So essentially every service that you thought you would feel comfortable with them handling for you, there was some sort of mismanagement or illegal activity around. Can you imagine that your home forecloses because of something that they did, some illegal activity, had nothing to do with you couldn't make payments or whatever it is. It's because they made it happen. Your vehicle gets repossessed illegally. All these different things, not to mention the fees and whatever associated with your account. These guys are just robbing everybody blind. Okay, so they have to pay 1.7 billion as civil penalty, and in addition to more than 2 billion to compensate consumers for a range of illegal activity. So this illegal activity term just continues to play out within this article, and I want to make sure that we continue to emphasize that because this is downright illegal. And if any crypto firm ever came anywhere close, it does not even have to be in the billions. It doesn't have to be 16 million customers. If one customer came out and said that, hey, look, Crypto.com or Kraken or KuCoin or whoever it is, the exchange, they ripped me off. That's it. Media would be all over this, smashing crypto down, Bitcoin's going to zero, the entire space is useless with no inherent value, let's forget about it. That would be the narrative. But here, 3.7 billion goes by and we don't bat an eye. So it goes on to say that, look, they're saying Wells Fargo's rinse-repeat cycle of violating the law has harmed millions of American families. This is actually the director of that CFPB department. Rinse-repeat cycle of violating the law. He is saying this. So it's not like you get slapped on the wrist, you reform, and we go on. Slap on the wrist, we know it doesn't mean anything, continue going forward. Slap on the wrist, and that cycle just continues to repeat. Now, in this particular article, they do go on to say that while 3.7 billion in fines has been laid out already, it doesn't mean it's over, and it doesn't mean that, you know, any of the Wells Fargo's execs are going to be immune to further fines going forward. So I want to point that out. All right, and then in a statement, Wells Fargo emphasized that the broad-reaching settlement with the CFPB resolves multiple matters, which most of which have been outstanding for several years. The bank said the required actions are already substantially complete. So we and our regulators have identified a series of unacceptable practices that we have been working systematically to change and provide customer remediation, which where warranted. Like, this is just, it's so nasty. It's so nasty because this isn't a startup company that came into existence last year, the last 6 months, even the last 5 years. This is a legacy institutional financial entity that's been here for decades, if not over 100 years, probably over 100 years. And this is happening in 2022. Okay, that's significant. They're just saying that there's systemic failures within the whole system itself. And they went on to say that the bank was aware of the problem for years before it ultimately addressed the issue. Can you believe that? They already knew this was a problem, but it just kept getting swept under the rug. No big deal. We'll handle it when we handle it. And yet more and more customer accounts are being affected by what's being not handled, and they don't really care. So yes, customers, they get billions in refund, okay, but like what has happened to their life in the meantime? This, like I said, this has taken over a span of several years. I mean, if you're wiped out, if you lost your home, if you lost your vehicle, you're getting all these exorbitant fees and you can't pay them. If you got a settlement later on, what happened to your life in the meantime? And that's something we tend to forget, is the quality of life and what it does to you physically and mentally. It's crazy, okay? But the point here is that whatever news you hear about crypto, especially in this type of market where things are down, and any news that kind of piggybacks off of all the devastation that happened already is going to be looked at as the next event to make Bitcoin zero and to make crypto non-existent. You've got to temper that narrative. Look what happens in these markets. Look what happens with these companies that are so entrenched in our community and our psyche, and we don't think anything of it. This right here is the very reason why decentralized finance is such an attractive concept and technology and innovation, really. Because yes, it's maybe scary. Maybe it's scary to hold your own assets and be responsible for your own transactions. Of course it is, because we're not used to it. Yes, you may lose some funds because of that. Absolutely, the responsibility is on you. But it's fully transparent, and you're fully accountable for what happens. That's just the nature of the beast. But we're so afraid of accountability, and we're not used to transparency, that we don't think something like DeFi, is a decentralized finance, is a viable option. We just think it's, every focus is on NFT, and it's nothing but hype and a right-click save as, so don't look at anything else. This is a technology play. Imagine this headline was BlockFi, Voyager, like I said, Crypto.com. Imagine the narrative that would be around the entire space. But because Wells Fargo has this fine, do you say the banking sector is no longer necessary, or is going to go to zero? Like, no, that's not the case. So This video is in two parts. I wanted to highlight the fact that we've got these nasty players who are entrenched in what they do and have always done. And number two is they never make it apples to apples. Mainstream media will always focus on crypto and any news there and blow it up. And when it comes to financial legacy institutions, yeah, it's just another story on page 7. So next time you hear or read crypto specific bad news, always keep in mind that whatever was happening there from a centralized point of view, it's not a crypto thing, and it's something that is very common in traditional markets. And that's why it spills over, because the same mindset is coming in. Until that is removed, until things are decentralized, these types of fines and in crypto insolvencies, they will just continue.